Finally, the circle is now complete. God, how long have we been waiting for this? Too long. What's going on, my friend? This is SynchroGuy, and today I'm here to discuss the brand new Ancient Fairy archetype that got revealed not too long ago. Finally, we got support for her. Golly. Every single signer from 5Ds has practically given support and an upgraded version of their Ace Dragon monster, but Luna was the only one to not receive any of that until now, finally. I mean, granted, it's due to the fact that her Ace Monster Dragon is, well, Ancient Fairy Dragon, who has spent time on the ban list for reasons. And of course, needed to get an errata in order to get off said ban list. But now that we're past all of that, Luna can finally get a dedicated archetype to her Ace Monster, Ancient Fairy Dragon. I'm so excited. Now every 5D fan can live out their signer duel fantasies in modern day. So how good is Luna's new deck going to be exactly? Well, let's take a look and see what kind of fun gimmick she has been given. Now real quick, don't forget to hit that like button, click subscribe, and ding that notification bell so you can get more awesome Yu-Gi-Oh related content. Real quick, here's a brief rundown of Ancient Fairy Dragon's history as of late. Ancient Fairy Dragon was first released during the 5Ds era as she was one of the ace monsters of the main characters of the show, Luna. Ancient Fairy Dragon has spent time on the ban list due to the fact that many top meta decks have found ways to abuse her field spell search effect, including FTK decks. In order to put those decks in check, Ancient Fairy got banned in May of 2018, and she will remain there until she was finally released on February 2023 after receiving her errata. And how they change her effect is that now both of her two effects are hard ones per turn instead of soft ones per turn, and when you use her field spell search effect, you have to search a different field spell from the one it destroyed. Because of these changes, Ancient Fairy Dragon hasn't really caused much of an uproar as she did in the past, and because of that, she can now finally receive her own archetype. So let's see what her deck looks like. First off, we have Regulus the Fairy Beast, and his text reads: if this card is normal or special summon, you can add one spell or trap that mentions Ancient Fairy Dragon from your deck to your hand. During your main phase, you can special summon one level 4 or lower light beast, plant, or fairy monster from your hand in defense position. You can banish this card from your graveyard and target one field spell in your graveyard, place it on the bottom of the deck, then draw one card. You can only use each effect of Regulus the Fairy Beast once per turn. So this guy is really good for the deck. On summon, you get to search out any spell or trap that mentions Ancient Fairy Dragon, which is really good. And if you notice with this second effect, this is going to be like the gimmick of Ancient Fairy decks. So they revolve around using beast, plant, and fairy monsters that are all light attribute. So if you see any monsters that that meet that specific type and attribute requirement, well, make sure you keep Ancient Fairy Dragon deck in mind because they might be able to use it. Anyway, going back to Regulus, it's his effect to special summon out any light beast, fairy, or plant monster to your field. That is really good and a good way to try to spam the board to get into your Ancient Fairy Dragon monster. And there's also his graveyard effect where you can banish yourself to recycle any field spell and get a free draw off of it. That is really good and definitely really necessary for the deck at the moment. So with this, I would say you definitely want to play this card at 3 copies. Like I would not want to say you want to play less than 3 unless there was a really good reason to not to. But if you're playing like a pure Ancient Fairy deck, then 3 Regulus would be very important. Next up, we have Spore the Fairy Cell, and her text reads: if this card is special summoned, you can increase its level up to the number of monsters you control. If this card is in your graveyard and you control Ancient Fairy Dragon or a light beast, plant, or fairy monster, you can special summon this card. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except synchro monsters. You can only use this effect of Spore the Fairy Cell once per turn. So this card is pretty good. But being able to special summon itself if you control Ancient Fairy Dragon or any the light beast, plant, or fairy monster, so that is really good, especially because you can special summon it out from the graveyard too with this effect. So that is really cool. And the fact that she can also boost her own level, that is really good to help ensure you go into your Ancient Fairy Dragon. And of course, the little synchro restriction is kind of necessary. I mean, otherwise link monsters might get involved in we don't want things getting too out of hand. But anyway, for Ancient Fairy deck, you want to play this card like either 1 to 2 copies. Mostly because, well, she is good, but you don't want to see her too often. This is somewhat like a card you want to search off, and I mean, she doesn't really do much else for you besides just help go into your Ancient Fairy Dragon play. So, yeah, it's like this is more something you want, kind of like a extender, so you don't want to see this card way too often. So again, like 1 to 2 copies. Next up, we have Kuribon the Fairy Spirit, and her text reads: if you control Ancient Fairy Dragon or a light beast, plant, or fairy monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, it's treated as a tuner. If another ancient fairy dragon or a monster that mentions it that you control will be destroyed by a card effect, you can return this card from the field to the hand instead. You can only use each effect of Kuribon, the fairy spirit, once per turn. So being able to special summon itself straight away from your hand and also become a tuner on top of that, that is really good. Especially for the new synchro boss monster for this deck that you want to try to go into most often. And there's also that she gives you protection from card destruction effects, but granted, it's only while she's on the field. So destruction protection is nothing to, ignore. Like, that is good and a good way to protect your cards from stuff like Regeki, Dark Hole, stuff like that. And plus, she returns to your hand because of it. Which means you can then resummon her as a tuner and then just bam, just start synchro summoning straight away. So yeah, that is really cool. Anyway, if you're gonna play this card, either 1 to 2 copies. Same thing with the Spore. Like, again, she is cool, but it's like may not be entirely necessary. I mean, she can still social summon herself to the field and become a tuner, so that could be really good. But sometimes it's like you may not want to say it too often. So again, it's up to you. Either 1 to 2 copies. Next, we have the upgraded version of Ancient Fairy Dragon, Ancient Fairy Life Dragon. Her text reads: 1 tuner plus 1+ non-tuner monsters. If this card is synchro summoned, you can draw 1 card. Or if the World of Spirits is on the field, add 1 light, beast, plant, or fairy monster, or 1 eternal sunshine from your deck to your hand. And instead, you can only use this effect of Ancient Fairy Life Dragon once per turn. Your Ancient Fairy Dragon and monsters that mentioned it can attack while in face-up defense position. If they do, apply their defense for damage calculation. Oh yeah, so she is gonna be really good for Ancient Fairy deck. On summon, you get to either draw a card or search for any of your light, beast, plant, or fairy monster, or a copy of Eternal Sunshine. A card we'll cover in just a bit. Same for with the World of Spirits. But so, anyway, on summon, you just get to add a card that is really good, especially it just makes up for like when you use like 2 monsters to make her it replaces one of those monsters, so that is really good. And also, so she turns all of your Ancient Fairy related monsters into super heavy samurai monsters. That is freaking amazing, and that is really awesome, because Ancient Fairy is more of a was kind of like to be playing more defensive kind of role. But now, if she can just attack and use her defense set as instead of her attack, though, that is really good. Oh yeah. Whew. Yeah, so in Ancient Fairy deck, you definitely want to play this card at like 2 to 3 copies. I mean, you can still just play 1 copy, but I highly emphasize you get more than one for this deck. Like that, she is like very important for this deck. Next up, we have the new field spell, the World of Spirits. This card's text reads: when this card is activated, you can add 1 monster that mentions Ancient Fairy Dragon from your deck to your hand. You can only activate each of the following effects of the World of Spirits while you control a level 7 or higher Light Dragon Synchro monster. Each time a monster is special summoned in attack position, change it to defense position. Once per turn, during the end phase, destroy all the turn player's attack position monsters. You can only activate 1 the World of Spirits per turn. So yeah, this field spell searches on pawn activation. That is really good. So that means you can search out any of your other Ancient Fairy related monsters that you need. Okay, so yeah, really good. And there's also the fact that while you have Ancient Fairy Dragon or any other level 7 or higher Light Dragon Synchro monster in your field, this card forces all of your opponents on special summon monsters to go into defense mode. So that's a good way to try and keep them from trying to like beat you over. And also, of course, keep in mind this is also mandatory. So even if sometimes you don't want to activate this, you don't have a choice in that. Yeah, same thing with the other effect where it pops all attack position monsters on the turn player's end phase. So if you have any attack position monsters during your end turn, yeah, they're going bye. So yeah, just be aware. But still, it's like that last part effect could also be really good against the opponent, especially if they're playing Link deck, because well, Link monsters can't go into defense spell, so bye. So for Ancient Fairy Dragon deck, this card is definitely necessary at 3 copies. Like, this is so good. You want to see this card as often as possible, so 3 copies would be very beneficial. Then we have the brand new continuous track card, Eternal Sunshine, named after the attack move of Ancient Fairy Dragon from the anime. And this card's text reads: monsters you control gain 500 defense for each Ancient Fairy Dragon and monsters that mentions it that you control. Once per chain, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. Its current attack and defense become half. Also, its effects are negated. You can use this effect of Eternal Sunshine a number of times per turn, up to the number of Ancient Fairy, Dragon, and monsters that mention it that you control. Oh, this track card is so amazing. So, with this, you give a boost to all of your Ancient Fairy Dragons and all Ancient Fairy Dragon related monsters, a huge defense stat boost by a 500 per monster. And when you have Ancient Fairy Life Dragon on the field, oh baby, there's gonna be a lot of big bodies on board. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so yeah, this is gonna be really gonna help the deck really trying to push for some big damage. And there's also the fact that this track can also act as a negate to any of your opponent's monsters effects, which is really good. And the fact that it's also once per chain and can activate multiple times in a single turn. Granted, you do have to control a bunch of Ancient Fairy Dragon related monsters on the field to keep activating this, but still, like, that is really good if you can get multiple out and keep using this to just negate your opponent's monsters effect. And also keep in mind the way it is worded, the first thing it has to do is just make sure it can cut the targeted monster's attack and defense in half. And that's important because that means you can activate this during the damage step. The damage step, that is super key. Oh, so yeah, this track card is really amazing for the deck, and you want to play this card like either 1 to 2 copies. And I say 1 to 2 because, I mean, granted, you can search this card out with either your, Regulus or Ancient Fairy Life Dragon. But there's also times like you wanted to try to, keep this card in, in play. Like, and there's not really kind of a way to try to really recycle the trap if it goes, bye-bye. So maybe probably playing a second copy might come in handy, maybe. We'll see. And that's really all the Ancient Fairy Dragon related cards that we're going to be getting in Lion's Insight. But that does not mean that is everything. There's actually a couple of new cards that got revealed last month that can also work well with this deck. And you probably want to know is because because they're not really Ancient Fairy Dragon related, but they can still work well with this deck. And you'll see why in just a bit. And first one we're covering is the field spell Fairy Tale Prolonged Journey's Dawn. Now, how exactly is this card related to Ancient Fairy Dragon in a way, or can really help it? Well, this is a card that was actually used by Luna, not in the anime, but in the manga. Don't forget that we actually got a 5Ds manga years ago. So there's plenty other, related cards from there that can actually provide support for the Ancient Fairy Dragon deck. And this is one of the cards that Luna plays in the manga. And beware, we didn't get all of them, just three of these cards. And there's actually, more field spells to this that we should be expected to come out at some time in the future. Specifically, three more field spells. So yeah, keep an eye out for cards related to something like this. Anyway, let's go over the field spells text. Any battle damage a player takes is halved. If you control a light beast monster or a level 7 or 8 dragon synchro monster, you can draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Fairy Tale Prolonged Journey's Dawn once per turn. Don't use Standby Phase. You can send this card from your field zone to the graveyard. Place 1 field spell from your hand or deck face up in your field zone, except Fairy Tale Prolonged Journey's Dawn. So you can see how this kind of relates to Ancient Fairy Dragon in a way. So of course, when it's active, you have either a light beast monster or any level 7 or 8 dragon synchro monster. You get to draw a card. That is really cool. And then there's also have battle damage, but it's probably not gonna come out too often. So it's just it's just kind of nice or just kind of there by chance. But then there's also the fact that during your standby phase, you can replace this with another field spell of your choosing, which could be really good. Now, granted, it does not activate the new field spell, so if you try to go for World Spells, you're not gonna get the on search effect on activation thing. So yeah, keep that in mind. But still, the fact that this card can grant you a draw for the deck is also kind of important. And there's also the fact that we have some monsters that actually do revolve around this field spell, which could be very helpful. Anyway, for the Fairy Tale field spell, you want to play this card at either 1 to 2 copies. Again, it's not the super most important card for the deck, but it's it's just kind of helpful in a sense, because card advantage is just going to be very important for this deck. So it's just really up to you, 1 to 2 copies. So the next card I'm going over is Wonko, No-Mo Knight of the Forest, and this card's text reads: if this card is a normal or special summon, you can add 1 Fairy Tale Prolonged Journey's Dawn from your deck to your hand, or if Fairy Tale Prolonged Journey's Dawn is on your field or in your graveyard, you can draw 1 card instead. You can only use this effect of Wonko, No-Mo Knight of the Forest once per turn. While a card is in the field zone, your opponent's monsters cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. When this card is destroyed by battle, you can make the monster that destroyed it lose 500 attack. So on summon, you get to either search for the Fairy Tale field spell or get to draw a card if it's on your field or in your graveyard. That is really cool. And again, trying to maintain card advantage for this deck is going to be very, very important. So getting some draws and searches is kind of crucial. Now, of course, I mean, there's also the rest of Wonko's effect, like being, battle protection, and the fact that it just makes a monster that destroyed it lose 5 turn attack. I mean, kind of cool, but it's like, it's just like, meh. And there's also the fact he's not actually an Ancient Fairy Dragon related monster, since nowhere in his text does it mention Ancient Fairy Dragon. And there's a reason for it, because, well, this is a manga card, and, well, Ancient Fairy Dragon specifically isn't in the manga. It's your alternate counterpart, Ancient Pixie Dragon, so yeah. But still, the fact he can get you card advantage for this deck is gonna be very important. So if you choose to play this card, either play 2 or 3 copies of this card. Now, the next monster we're going over is Bat the Forest Ninja, and this card's text reads: if a face-up card is in the field zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Bat the Forest Ninja once per turn this way. If this card is no more special summon, and Fairy Tale Prolonged Journey Zone is on your field or in your graveyard, you can add 1 Light Beast monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Bat the Forest Ninja once per turn. So this guy is pretty cool. First off, he's actually a tuner monster, a level 3 tuner monster, which is going to be very helpful, especially because if you got something like Regulus on the field, well then you just you summon Regulus, get a field, search for the World of Spirits, activate that, and then if you got Bat in your hand, you can special summon into the field and then just synchro summon into Ancient Fairy Dragon. So yeah. And also, if you've got the Fairy Tale field spell in either your field or graveyard, you could just search for any Light Beast monster from your deck. So you can either search for Wonko or Regulus. So yeah, that's a good way to say keep your hand a little more consistent, so that you got play next turn. So yeah, this guy is really cool, and I would say you would play this guy either 1 to 3 copies. You really can't go wrong. If you choose to play, it's there's really no harm in playing this guy. Again, he's a level 3 tuner, that could potentially give you some searching. So yeah. And that's all the Luna manga cards we've been given so far. But there's actually one more card that got revealed not too long ago. That's going to be a V-Drop promo for the OCG. So we don't know when exactly we can get this in the TCG. I mean, granted, anything from the manga cards, but hopefully it will become maybe an OCG import, one the main booster set, preferably Alliance Insight, or maybe the set after. Just yeah. Anyway, this new card is I won't say. I don't know how proper pronounce it without looking. Ukanomitsune-no-Tamayura. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Anyway, this card's text reads: if you control a level 4 or lower light beast, plant, or fairy monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. A monster that will synchro summon using this card as material gains these effects. Gains 500 defense, and your opponent cannot target this defense position card with card effects. You can only use each effect of Ukanomitsune-no-Tamayura once per turn. I look forward to seeing what the TCG name for this card is going to be. But anyway, obviously this card was made specifically to help the Ancient Fairy Dragon deck. I mean, seriously, read its text. How can that not be related to Ancient Fairy Dragon? So first off, it's a level 3 tuner monster, which is really cool. It can special summon itself straight away from your hand if you control any light beast, plant, or fairy monster, provided it's level 4 or lower, and grants the synchronous monster you go into some extra benefits of a 500 defense increase and targeting protection while it's in defense mode. So yeah, that's really cool. I mean, granted, I obviously going to be mostly giving this to the OG Ancient Fairy Dragon, but I would prefer if we could give it to Ancient Fairy Light Dragon, because she's really our boss monster and the one that's gonna help us be able to turn all of our Ancient Fairy Dragon monsters into super heavy samurai related monsters. So yeah, just yeah, but you know what? This card is still really good and can really help get your plays going. So you don't brush this aside. You definitely want to play this card in Ancient Fairy Dragon deck at 3 copies. He is really gonna be good for the deck. And that's just about everything. So, is this the new Ancient Fairy Dragon deck gonna be meta? No. It has a nice start, but it needs more support. Again, I'm really glad Ancient Fairy Dragon finally has her own deck, but she really needs more support. This is still not enough. One of the main issues I've seen with this deck is that, well, it tends to lack in card advantage. I have been emphasizing the importance of trying to maintain card advantage with this deck as we went over the cards, and when you do your play, you sometimes just you blew up your tiny hand if you're not careful enough, and you gotta make sure you be able to stop your opponents when during their turn, or otherwise you may be SOL. So it's like in Ancient Fairy Dragon deck, you're gonna be playing like the beatdown role more often than not. And because of the fact you're gonna be emphasizing trying to maintain card advantage, it might be a good idea to try to play some hand traps that can either slow down or stop the opponent, or play something like the Molcharmies so you can maintain card advantage and keep yourself in the game. Like again, card advantage is going to be very important for this deck, so hopefully we get a new Ancient Fairy Dragon related card that can actually help with that in a way. Now, we could have probably expect maybe for this archetype to get one brand new card in the next upcoming set, Duelist Advance, but I was stressing for this card to get maybe 2 new cards, because I think it's really important to really give this deck quite a good boost, because I don't think one more card is going to cut it, so I would prefer 2, but we're probably just gonna only get 1. But you know what? We'll take what we can get. But regardless though, I am so glad that Ancient Fairy Dragon finally gets her own archetype. It is really cool to see, and I'm looking forward to when she gets a bunch of brand new support and trying to make her really a bit more competitive, at least rogue tier. That's kind of my hope right now at this point. So it may come up at some point, we just don't know when, but so we just have to wait and see. Only time will tell. But again, I'm really glad Ancient Fairy Dragon got her own archetype. Like, the circle is finally complete. It makes me so happy as a 5Ds fan. Thank you so much for watching, my friend. Let me know in the comments section what you think of these Ancient Fairy Dragon related cards, and what kind of support do you hope that they will get in the coming days. I'll see you in the next one, and I hope you have / had an awesome day today.